Welcome to the Intrazone Roadmap Pitstop December 2018 edition. This is a bonus monthly show that will answer what's rolling out now for SharePoint and related technologies into Office 365. These roadmap episodes will be brief, fun, and relevant, and they are all about what's happening now, like right now. It's all about supporting good change management and based on feedback from you, our listeners, so thank you. Joining me will be special guests from the engineering team to enlighten us about how they build certain features, the planning involved, and what they hope you'll do with it. So they are eager, always eager for your feedback. This month, I talked with Squires, Senior Program Manager on the SharePoint team, focused on all things site designs. Consider this episode and all the future ones for the Pitstop as the message center for everyone, not just for cloud admins. We want to keep you informed, current, and ahead of the ever-curving roadmap. We've got a lot of great stuff to cover in this episode, so before the close of 2018, before the big bells and whistles of the new year, the flag is waving. Office 365 users, start your engines. All up in this episode, we have 5 sections. We'll cover what SharePoint offers when you want to inform and engage throughout the intranet, throughout your company, what we do for teamwork. There's some related items, and of course, always 2 teasers of what's coming in January 2019. Let's begin with Inform and Engage. This is really how we focus on providing a dynamic employee experience throughout the intranet and what you do in your outer loop when you communicate very broadly. The first item I wanted to make sure you know about are page designs. Think of these as saving a page as a template, and you would have then a template gallery per site, and it will enable you to have modern pages that will support saving a page as a template, and the next time you go to create a page, these then are ready with how you've laid them out, with the sections, with the web parts, with even text, images, and whatnot, and they'll be shown in the template picker when you go to create a new page, choose from your page design, and you're off and running, saving a whole bunch of time. In the same space as page designs is what are we doing new for site designs. So now you have the ability to view and apply site designs right from within the SharePoint site. We're moving beyond PowerShell. Certainly PowerShell will continue to be supported in this realm, but we're now enabling you to see and act on what's going on right there in the user interface of the site. As a site owner, you can access the site design panel to see which site designs have been applied or ones that are available for you to apply as a site owner to then move forward and adjust the site either the way that you want or the way that other people want. Those available site designs, you'll see them and be able to use them just as you'd like. The next thing I want to talk about is how you can customize the title region for each page. You'll have a bunch of options for layout that make the page look a little bit more dynamic or makes it more simplified in terms of the title region of the page. You can also choose whether you want things to be left, middle, aligned, and you have the ability to choose text above as if you wanted to publish a number of pages that are fallen under the same category. You can have something that looks like a little bit more of a badge at the top, a visual cue to your audience. And then last, you'll be able to show who is actually the author of the page, and if you want to show or hide the publish date. So you have a lot more configuration in how you want to represent your pages before you publish them. The other thing we support in modern pages is now the ability to add shading to make different sections distinct from others. This is a pretty easy choice. It follows the color schemes that you've chosen, but it gives a little bit better accessibility to people who are reading your page. And it also adds, of course, a little bit of visual clarity of what the different sections are as people move through your article, your news, or they hit your page on your site. One of the other things we're doing that helps you organize how you represent your pages is what we're doing with the news web part and the ability to now organize your news within the news web part. We call this pinning, and it's very easy to just let things flow the way they are. That could be based on date. It could be based on who's logged in. But now if you want to actually control which news appears first, second, third, and then let everything flow off of that, you can actually, within the news web part now, pin news items in the order of your choice. We also have a couple of new web parts. One of the first new web parts falls under the category of our personalized web parts. You can add the recent documents web part onto a page. It knows who's signed in and will show only their recent documents. The second personalized web part that we have out there for you is the frequent sites web part. This does the same thing. It knows who's logged in, and wherever you place this, it'll show that person what their frequent sites are. Really powerful way to organize and create a dynamic experience for the person who's logged in. The last update here is the Microsoft Stream web part has been updated. With this web part, you can add videos and channels of videos very easily to your pages and news articles. And now, if you choose to add a channel of videos, you can actually sort them by how they're trending, their release date, the amount of views that they've received, or the amount of likes that they've received. The other thing that's great about the Microsoft Stream web part, it is now mobile ready. If you have a video on a page or a news article, and your viewers are viewing it or intending to play it back through the SharePoint mobile app, it'll now play. So, boom, stream on the go. There you go. There was a lot shipped this month all around teamwork and how you and your peers can work better together every day. One of the things at the OneDrive, but it also applies to SharePoint level, is now if you create sharing links, you can actually make it so that if somebody shares a link, you can enable them to only view that document in the browser. It actually is going to share a link that blocks download. So if you have documents you want people to see but not download locally, you can block download within these view-only links. It's a very powerful offering and a really easy thing to configure, and then it's just something you send in an email, post into a chat. While we're in the realm of OneDrive, the team has actually been really busy updating the user experience. You might have heard something called Fluent UI that we're doing all across Office. Well, this Fluent user interface is now coming to OneDrive, and it doesn't just offer a cleaner user experience, but it's also helpful, too, to show things like your recommended files right there in the breadth of all of your files. We have a new file card experience. When you hover over a file, you'll see a lot of a richer, deeper look into the aspects of the file. There's also a lot of information that's going to be right there in front of you around the activity and the life cycle based on feedback and indicators about what's happening with your files. Have people been commenting on it, editing it, mentioning you? You would see that right there in the user interface. And last but not least, the Fluent update will bring the full fidelity of a shared library right inside OneDrive. So if you're working with your team files inside or from OneDrive, you'll get that same experience, a common experience of how people expect the power of SharePoint document libraries right there in OneDrive. So you get this fluent experience of working with your files across Office 365. Next up is what we do with Yammer groups when you think about how they're connected to SharePoint. Now, SharePoint actually backs when you store a file through a Yammer thread, it's stored in SharePoint. Same as what you do in Microsoft Teams, same as what you think in terms of when we were talking about the experience in OneDrive. Those Yammer group files are now Office 365 group connected and stored in SharePoint. One of the things we updated at the bottom of all pages in news was what happens to the experience of the social bar or the content bar. This is where you see the likes of the page, comments, save for later, those kind of things. You'll now experience when you start scrolling the page that that's permanently docked at the bottom of the page. So it's always available. You can always see what's going on with your page, and it doesn't fly around all over the place. One of the things we always get asked for is just make it easier for me to know what I'm doing or remind me of when I need to have something done. We've created the ability to create a reminder based on a Microsoft flow, and this can be off of a list or a library when you're using a date column. You enter the date for how much in advance you want to be reminded, and then boom, based on that date and the date that we know, you'll get reminded. You'll get an email, and you'll be right in the flow of not forgetting things. The next thing that has gotten a ton of great feedback, people have been really looking forward to this coming, and it's now available. It's very simple, visually powerful, column formatting. You now have the ability to choose color schemes for SharePoint lists. This also applies to document libraries in columns within the edit pane experience. You don't have to know JSON. You can just go in and pick based on certain categories or certain choices that you make in how your list appears. And then whenever somebody chooses that, the color will apply, and boom, you'll get this beautiful column formatting looking list. Also for SharePoint lists, we now have a new column type. It's based on location. We call this the location column. And in SharePoint lists in Office 365, all you have to do via a lookup through Bing Maps is type in the name of the location. It could be your favorite restaurant, could be the location of a building that you know. And just based up on that one thing, it'll actually populate all the other details that come from Bing, city, state, address, etc. And you'll get a rich set of metadata based on just that easy lookup of a location. And it's a really powerful way to build out a list. And then, of course, you have a ton of data to munge and create views and all that stuff. The last thing with SharePoint lists is something that people have been also asking for a long time, is just the ability to drag and drop columns to reorder how they appear on the page. You save that view, and voila, you've got a really nice page without having to go through a lot of Herculean effort to just create the order that you want. Now, you just drag and drop. It's time to pause on the roadmap, pull into the pit stop, and chat with one of our engineers who is actively releasing one of the features that we talked about out into production, out into Office 365, getting in the hands of all of our users. So we're lucky to have Sean Squires, Senior Program Manager, in to talk about site designs, but I don't want to limit you to just that. What are the other things, if you were to categorize, what does Sean do for his engineering role?
Wow. So hi, everyone. I work on the SharePoint Team Services Group. And so in addition, I do a lot of different things around sites and site templates. And so the three areas that I work on are really around site designs, but then also the site provisioning and the site templates that are available through self-service site creation and some of the governance around that experience. I've also, as a lot of your listeners probably know, I do a lot of work around site branding and the mechanisms that we make available for both site owners and administrators to control the look and feel of their SharePoint sites.
Very nice. Well, let's get into some of the particulars of what you're shipping right now.
All right. Absolutely. We've been releasing a lot, actually, of the site design capabilities over this past year. The community support and feedback has been invaluable in helping to guide that, really. One of the major pieces of feedback, though, is a lot of the capability right now is really in the hands of the tenant administrators and using PowerShell to implement the published site designs so that end users can actually use them through self-service site creation. What we want to do is really extend that so that site owners really have more control over that as well, not just in what has been applied to their site, but the option to apply updates or additional site designs to their site. So there's the UX and the reason behind the UX.
So it might be that an admin who's in charge of how a lot of sites are, how they look and feel, all the different things they might be needing to conform to, like policies, list formats, and all that stuff.
Right.
These are things that can be applied after the fact.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Yeah, site designs get applied to the site after it's already been created. And to be clear, this interface is also just providing a means to apply an already published site design. This isn't a mechanism to create new ones. We have another option for that, which we're also recently released. We announced at Ignite and talked about more at the European SharePoint conference. We have the ability to create site scripts from existing SharePoint objects, in this case, lists and libraries, which is really facilitates the creation of these things so you don't necessarily have to be a JSON expert. You can actually start to build these scripts from configurations that you're making through the UI, which is really powerful and really lowers that barrier to adoption.
Yeah, I was going to say, when we announced these features initially, it kind of sounded like you had to be a developer or kind of a deeper admin or IT to be able to create the thing and then to kind of put it in place so other people can use it either by default or after the fact.
That's right.
But how would you categorize what are we really trying to accomplish? You know, by making site scripts available, site designs available, putting them in place or allowing people to put them in place?
Yeah.
What are we really trying to enable our users to be able to do?
I think at the end of the day, it's really around just empowering our community of users all the way from tenant admins to hub administrators to site owners to have that control, but also to facilitate that control, so you don't have to recreate all those things that you need to use. Let's say you have a project library that has some complex view formats and custom columns and things like that. You don't want to have to recreate that list or library every time you need to use it again. So with a site design, it's a template. It automates that creation and configuration. And so it's really around empowering users to just take advantage of those capabilities, but then to automate a lot of that configuration for consistency and to expedite reuse.
So it falls into, I want people to be able to accelerate getting from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Where do you think it falls in line with governance? We always talk about with Microsoft Teams, SharePoint sites, and a lot of other things that are within this Office 365 group-connected world.
Yeah.
How do site designs help from a governance perspective?
Well, as the last time you mentioned, when I was here with Bob German, we talked about that, and I loved how you sort of were jokingly referring to us as the governors, because a lot of what this is really in line with governance, providing if the admins are going to provide these published site designs, at that point, really the consumption model for the site creators is they're going to take advantage of those published site designs. And there's that governance. There's that consistency. You're going to have those libraries created the same across all those different sites. You're going to have the themes applied across all those different sites. Now, obviously, you might want to complement that with maybe other admin controls about enabling or even scoping what settings the site owners also have access to. And those are some areas that we're looking into and talking with customers and looking at feedback to continue to provide those governance mechanisms. But really, that's where site designs help out, is they help ensure the implementation of whatever mechanisms you want to put in place.
Yeah, but it's a really nice feature that you have the ability for an admin to say, when a site gets provisioned, do this.
That's right.
But then for the site owner to make additional choices based on other things that might be available to them. Still managed through IT, but at the choice of the site owner.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about the new UX, which I think is really important to underscore, is it's not only an affordance to apply those new site designs, additional site designs, updates to site designs, but also to see what's been applied. So now you have a bit of that history, because a lot of the feedback we've gotten from customers has been like, this is a really awesome, powerful mechanism, but now I don't really know what sites have what things applied and what settings were configured. This gives you the ability to do that. And in fact, because this UX is driven off of the same PowerShell commands and APIs that we've published, you can even build mechanisms to get auditing and reporting in the back end as well.
So before we get back onto the racetrack with some other material, what is in store for site designs next? If you could give us a little teaser of some of the things you might be working on.
It really is about making it awesomer. And really just really what we want to do, and what has always been the driver with site designs, is obviously to continue to expand in various scenarios to fulfill this model of providing configuration and templates and facilitating that mechanism. And the part of that is expanding the set of site script actions, the types of things that you can do programmatically through a site design. So greatest bit of feedback we've gotten from customers, I think I probably mentioned this even last time, is pages. People really want to be able to configure site pages through a site design and maybe even set it as the home page. Once we've got that, we've really got a majority of the configuration elements that folks need covered. The other piece that we're looking at is also just really driving adoption. There's a lot of great scenarios we'd love to do where, you and I, we can make our own site designs, even through the UI or even through a PowerShell, and then just reapply those things. And so it's almost like, if I may, democratize.
Yeah. Site designs for the masses.
Site designs for the masses.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for your time, of course, for your ongoing engineering excellence. I bid you safe travels on your journey to the next of everything you're doing. And thank you for making SharePoint site designs a beautiful thing.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone.
We wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about some related items. There's a lot of features for a lot of different roles, and I want to focus a little bit on the admin. So there is a new SharePoint Admin Center experience that's now rolled out 100% to all admins worldwide. It's still a choice. You can currently still fall back to the classic mode, but now it's available for everybody to commit to 100% the new SharePoint admin experience. Once you're there, you'll find a way to create and manage sites like never before. There's a great site management experience. This is where you would go to apply policies for access control. And you also start to see new things, like when you go to create a new site, you'll see a progress indicator. And of course, a lot of great reliability, and of course, just a better user experience no matter what browser or what operating system you're coming in through. So definitely give the SharePoint Admin Center experience a try. It's now 100% available to all admins worldwide. You can block or limit access to SharePoint and OneDrive content from unmanaged devices. Limiting access allows users to remain productive while addressing the risk of accidental data loss on unmanaged devices. The last thing in the related section is in the upper right of your site, you might have seen a tip or a trick. Basically, you would have seen a megaphone at the header of the site that's trying to encourage you to go learn more about something you're trying to do. You can consider this inline help and guidance from SharePoint right there inside the site. So if you get stuck, look into the upper right, maybe there's a megaphone, Hopefully you'll come across a tip or trick that will help get you unblocked and move you on your way to using SharePoint and getting on with your day. The last thing that we wanted to cover before we get to some teasers is a little correction from the last Roadmap Pit Stop. We mentioned last time about the Change the Look panel that's coming, and this is something that as we were just getting ready to release, we actually put it on pause until January of 2019. So in January, you will see the mega menu, the site header, and the site footer come when that Change the Look panel gets updated. But we wanted to make sure about that you knew about that correction and that you should look for it coming soon, but it's not there just yet. I put my fingers to my temple and I peer into the crystal ball for next month's leaderboard. Are you ready for 2 teasers coming in January 2019? Thing 1, reminder emails. When someone shares a file with you, OneDrive will send you an email with a link. It tracks whether the link has been clicked within 7 days. If the link is not clicked within 7 days, the service sends a reminder email to that same recipient. We know this might be a little bit more like a nag email, but we've gotten a lot of feedback that once an email has been sent, if somebody hasn't responded or acted on it, that they want to send an automatic reminder, which is actually helpful to both the person who's been sending it and the person receiving it. So look for reminder emails coming in January 2019. Thing number 2 is news audience targeting. You will now have the ability to target your news, not only to say who is the right person or group that this news is intended for, but on those home pages and team site pages and hub site pages, you'll actually be able to program the news web part to show only the news based on that attribute of the news article itself. So when Mark signs in, he'll see a set of news that's appropriate for his role or region. And when Jill signs in, she'll have a different experience based on her role or region or whatever criteria you deem. So look for news audience targeting coming in 2019, January. So that's it with the teasers. We're close to the end of the pit stop. We'll apply the brakes a little and dig into the ongoing resources available to you throughout the year. We hope it's been a nice, smooth, speedy ride hearing about all the things that have been rolled out in December 2018. Now we'd like to make sure that you have a good list of resources to turn to throughout the year. We'll put a bunch of important links in the show notes. These will help you learn about the Message Center and how to use it, raise awareness about the Microsoft 365 public roadmap, links to our own SharePoint community blog, and of course all things Twitter from @SharePoint and @mcashman, where you can go and stay both at speed or ahead of the curve and find out all these things that are happening with SharePoint. So we'll put all of those links in the show notes and make sure you have them whenever you need them. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Intrazone Roadmap Pit Stop December 2018. We had a lot to share and a lot more to come next year. Happiest New Year's to you and yours. Please stay engaged, ask questions, push us where you want and need to get the best information and insights. We're here to put our and your best change management foot forward. We're here to be the best vendor that we can. Stay safe out there on the roadmap, and thanks for listening.